Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are. Remember, you have greatness inside of you. Welcome back to another AB Daily News with the hockey coach guru called Frenchy. Today, episode number 256. What do you have in the coach today? First of all, I'm going to talk about the behind the trait of Nick Suzuki. After I read an article, many things you never heard about what happening with Nick Suzuki, Max Pacioretty, and Marc Bergevin. So this is the only subject we have on this episode. But before we start, we invite you, please don't forget to click on the like, subscribe to the Hockey Nation Live Show, and leave me a comment about this trade. And let's dive in talking about the first subject of the day. My first subject, guys, about the behind the trait of Nick Suzuki. Really interesting. Why? Because let's start this way. Summer 2018. Pacioretty and Marc Bergevin, they have a lot of tension between both since before Christmas in 2017. The relationship between both became very toxic and it was on the media constantly. And you can see a little bit the tension from Bergevin on the daily basis because the fans was really concerned about this situation. We know 2 years prior to that, Pacioretty became a captain for the Montreal Canadiens, but there are other things happening after that. And I want to sharing this with you. First of all, September 10, the Montreal Canadiens decide to trade their captain, Max Pacioretty, to the Golden Knights. Canadiens got Nick Suzuki, Thomas Tatar, and the second round pick 2019. Then, since that trade, we thought Bergevin was focusing only on Suzuki and Tatar was just a national player on that trade. And of course, they was targeting the second round pick in return. But the other thing, you do not know what happening behind the door. Let's talking first this way. Pacioretty requests a trade. What? Yes, there's still a negotiation after Pacioretty signed a contract of 6 years at a $4.5 million AAV per year. He became a bargain in NHL because he was produced over 30 goals each year. At some point, Pacioretty felt he deserved to have more money. Obviously, Molson and Bergevin refused to give him an extension, and the tension from his agent, Alan Walsh, with Marc Bergevin creates some kind of relationship toxic between both parties. And at some point, he could not go nowhere. And that's the reason that Bergevin, during many months at the beginning of 2018, until to the draft during that summer, they was trying to trade Pacioretty. Obviously, it did not work until September. During that summer, the Vegas Golden Knights got 3 picks in the first round. Number 9, they got Cody Glass, 13, Nick Suzuki, and 15, Eric Bankstrom. One thing helping the Montreal Canadiens about Suzuki is the Vegas Golden Knights did not watch really well Suzuki during his last season and the junior when he played in the playoff. And Montreal, possible because Vegas was not too much what's going on with Suzuki, opened the door possibly to trade him to the Montreal Canadiens. But at some time of this negotiation, something changed. But before that, Montreal did not request Suzuki. They request a young top first round for the Vegas Golden Knights. The Vegas Golden Knights have the choice to select Glass, Suzuki, or Bankstrom. Secondly, Montreal requests a veteran players. That was almost what Vegas want to give to Montreal. And one important thing they request Montreal, it was another pick draft for the following year. And the Vegas gave their second round pick. But how the Vegas gave Suzuki over Bankstrom and Glass, they thought from the 3 players they draft, Suzuki was or less talented and skilled compared to other 2 players. Now, here what happening after that. Really interesting, guys. After the long negotiation between Vegas and the Montreal Canadiens, here's the key of the trade. Not only because Vegas select Suzuki, but at some point, Vegas feels some pressure from the Montreal Canadiens because the Montreal Canadiens got a proposal from the another team in NHL. Obviously, we don't know which team it was. And that's reason pushed Vegas to accelerate the trade with the Montreal Canadiens in case because they were scared to lose Pacioretty and the deal will be over. So what happening there is Suzuki was traded to the Montreal Canadiens because Vegas select Suzuki. It's not Bergevin request to get Suzuki. This is where it's really important to understand behind the trade. We always thought Montreal want Suzuki, but it was not the case. The player was selected by the Vegas Golden Knights. Unbelievable turnover. Finally, 6 months later, Vegas trade Eric Brankstrom to the Ottawa Senators to get Mark Stone, and 2 years later, the Vegas Golden Knights trade Cody Glass to the Nashville Predator. Unbelievable turnover from 3 players. Remember, it took over 6 hours before they announced that trade. September 9, all 3 players was on the ice together. At some point, they asked Suzuki to quit the ice, and they announced to him the situation. 6 hours later, at 1:09 a.m., the trade was announced by both teams. This how happening behind the trade between Nick Suzuki and the Montreal Canadiens. It started with a kind of relationship toxic between Bergevin and Pacioretty. We never knew Pacioretty request a trade, but because the negotiation did not turn over the way Pacioretty want, with his agent Alan Walsh, he requests a trade. Over 6 months to 8 months, it took to Bergevin to find a way to make a trade with one team, Vegas Golden Knights. And behind that, everybody thought it was Suzuki, the targeting of Montreal. It was not true. Montreal only requests one of the 3 players, Glass, Suzuki, or Brankstrom. Wow, what a great situation Montreal Canadiens turnover. This from the bad situation with Pacioretty turned to be a great situation now with the Montreal Canadiens, with Suzuki, captain now in Montreal Canadiens. Sometime in life, you never know what's happening, and this is, guys, conclude the only subject we have, the trade behind the door about Nick Suzuki and Max Pacioretty. Hey, hopefully you enjoyed this short video. I would love to hear from you. What do you think about that story, Nick Suzuki behind the door? Share with me, give me a comments, tell me what you think, and definitely I will respond to you. But before we leave, we want to remind you, please don't forget to click on the like, subscribe to the Hockey National Show, and leave me a comments about this subject. And of course, remember, you have greatness inside of you, and we wish you an amazing, blessing day, everybody.